young, beloved actor and filmmaker Rob Reiner died, along with his wife, in a tragedy at his home. So, as one would expect, because he was an outspoken critic of Donald Trump, due to the backlash of Charlie Kirk, who apparently befell some kind of tragedy as well, you would expect Donald Trump to be very kind and not very critical of the nearly departed, on account of the deference we must show to the dead. So here is Donald Trump's statement. And let me read from the President of the United States. Put your fingers up to your temples and salute. This is very official stuff, okay? Very official. Don't laugh. This is serious shit, okay? This is the President of the United States, a prestigious station among humanity. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. Now, it's subtle, but people are not happy by the little jabs Donald J. Trump, our president, took at Rob Reiner. Some snowflakes would like you to believe that this is, in fact, crazy, narcissistic bullshit, but those guys are libtards, and that's not us. We think that you should, of course, be nice to dead people, even if you don't like them. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, who presumably is who is typing this, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration, who is himself, surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace. I guess if you end it, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace, it's like starting it with no offense. So it doesn't count. Smart, cagey, from our 4D chess playing president. Very bright guy. All right, so let's just contrast that with what Rob Reiner, horrible liberal, had to say, and as the title implies, Admiral of Antifa. Let's see what he had to say about Charlie Kirk when he was so unrighteously slain.
Well, horror, absolute horror. And
American patriot Piers Morgan. Sorry, Israeli patriot.
Unfortunately,
actually, that's not true. He's actually come around more than like a Republican to some liberals, frankly.
Saw the video of it, and it's beyond belief what happened to him. And,
just wait, he's about to say disgusting stuff about Charlie Kirk. Just wait.
And that should never happen to anybody. I don't care what your political beliefs are.
What?
That's not acceptable. That's not a solution to solving problems. And I felt like what his wife said at the service, that the memorial they had, was exactly right.
That's a ravenous, raving lunatic leftist, as you can hear. A lunatic leftist. Luckily, our president, who isn't woke, because that would be gay, he did not back down when pressed by the woke fake news media.
Please. Mr. President, a number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was...
Weird way to start answering the whatever. Weird way. Not a fan of his.
A deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said...
A deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. Who is him? So... We'll let his appraisal of who is deranged and who is not speak for itself a little, I think.
He knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. You know, it was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think
Rob Reiner was one of the people behind the Russia hoax. That's true. I believe that now because this is my president. And it is my job as an American citizen to uncritically side with him no matter what he says. Okay? That's patriotic. Thinking for myself? Throw it out the fucking window. I'm not thinking for myself. I'm thinking for Donald. Because that's what an American should do. Think for the president on behalf of we should think of the president before ourselves, in my opinion, and his friends.
Hurt himself in career-wise. So he became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country. Yeah.
Rob Reiner, bad for our country. Yes, obviously. You wouldn't want the kinds of messages that Rob Reiner spoke, like, nobody should die. Guns are bad for people. Rob Reiner, by the way, signed petitions by Palestinians and supported Arabs and Muslims alike while being critical of Trump. So, of course, this is how he responds. Yes, Rob Reiner, in fact, supported Palestinians. Now, here is what... look, this is the smoothed-out husk of James Woods, who is a right-wing actor, who is a very, very big fan of Donald Trump. But I want you to take a second and listen to the subtle contrast between him and how Donald Trump sounded. This guy, James Woods, has literally, since day one, been riding Donald Trump's actual dick and balls, like with full-throated moans and like hip thrusts that you didn't think he was capable of. I mean, genuinely just massaging and milking the president. Okay, so it's been really happening. But here's how he talks about Rob Reiner.
You know Rob Reiner.
I knew Rob Reiner because at a very, very down point in my career, Rob literally saved my career and really put me back on track in a way that was so important and rewarding in my life. And he really fought for me when the studio didn't want me in a movie. I was 32 years too young for the part, but he really believed that I was right and could do it. It was something that virtually nobody agreed with except one of his partners, Martin Schaefer, who was the head of Castle Rock and one of the greatest production companies ever. And we did Ghosts of Mississippi together, and I went from really being basically out of a job to getting an Academy Award nomination, and I give all the credit to Rob.
Wow. He goes on to literally cry, full tears.
I literally work and treated me in last year just before.
There seems to be like of all fucking things, a little bit of a schism on the right as they see. I've seen literally like Tim Pool and other people quote tweeting Donald Trump, his little stupid truth, and being like, wow, this isn't a good look, man. Because people just love Rob Reiner, who is a nice guy, even if he's critical of Trump. He has a great reputation as a human being, and that's literally what's happening. Guy who should be his biggest hater because he's a humongous Trump sycophant has literally personal experience with a guy who's so lovely it transcends any of James Woods' idiocy. You know what I mean? Which is a fucking task. And this is the story throughout Hollywood and beyond. Anyone who knew Rob or any of that agrees. And I think it's funny because Gianmarco put it best. Classic. Who wouldn't? One way you cannot describe Trump's post about Rob Reiner is out of character. That's very true. That is very true. And that one post about Trump proved everything Rob Reiner ever said about him is true. Also factually true. And part of the reason, of course, Trump hates him is the anti-Trump thing. But I've been seeing mostly the people who are agreeing with Trump are Nazis, essentially. Like anyone in my mentions that is like, yeah, fuck Rob Reiner. Like pretty much a Nazi. Not just your normal MAGA guy with like a farmer's hat on or whatever. But Rob was at it a long time as an actor and beyond. So I think the last clip we'll play in this segment will be of a very classic scene they came across that, you couldn't play today because they'd call it so woke. But this is like, fucking 50 years ago or some shit. This is all This is well-written stuff. You can't do this today. Too woke. Quite too woke. No. That's a beautiful breakdown. Rob Reiner, I guess just too woke. Too woke for Donald Trump. I suppose all of the whining and crying about all the Charlie Kirk memes and jokes just go fucking right down the drain, don't they? They just fucking waft away on the wind of all this stupid fucking just like virtue signaling. You got to be nice to a guy if he dies. It's clear that the president has never given a shit. It's clear the Republicans have never given a shit. Anyway, R.I.P. to a real one.